And we're continuing our power conversation with Andrew Etzinger, Eskom spokesperson. Andrew, thank you so much for taking time out of what I'm sure is a very, very busy time for you right now to come and talk to us. I'd like to start off with two rumors that I'd like you to put to bed for me. The first rumor is that your CEO said today that the country is not in crisis. The second rumor is that we might just have total blackout tonight or tomorrow night. If I can get clarity on those, I'm happy.
Okay, well, let's start with the quote from the Chief Executive. The Chief Executive briefed the media today and was asked about the situation, and the question is it a crisis or not? Mr. Matona, 2 weeks ago in a briefing, indicated that it was a crisis, and today said it wasn't. And there seemed to be a disconnect between what he'd said. And he clarified this to say that in the country, certainly the electricity industry and the electricity situation is a crisis. But what he was specifically talking about today is to say that the Eskom as an organization is not in crisis. So we're still focused, we're still on the job, we are still doing interviews until late at night, 7 days a week. And working very hard at the power stations, etc. So that was the, that was the nuance that he explained it.
Blackouts?
Blackout, we will not go there. The way that Eskom manages the grid is when we have a deficit, we implement load shedding. Unlike other countries around the world where they hope for the best and hope that demand and supply will come in, we proactively manage the grid in a way which doesn't pose any risk of a blackout.
Andrew, it is a crisis. Of course it's a crisis. I mean, it's just a question of how you manage the crisis. And the point is that, as I said on this show earlier on, I wasn't told that last night I would be out from between 8 and 10:15 p.m. No one told me. It said on the website that there was no more load shedding. You've got to get a new PR company. You've got to tell people what's going on. You've got to get the people right at the top of this country, because you're a state-owned enterprise, to say this is what the situation is. We can't do anything more than we're doing now, but let's all get together and cope with it. Please do that, because otherwise there's chaos and there's a backlash against you.
Sure, Lindsay, I think the point is well made and well understood. What we are dealing with here is a situation of, I think, everybody really understanding, I think, that there is a problem, a severe problem. And what we are hearing from business people and homeowners is to say, tell us when you'll be load shedding, number one. And number two, stick to those times. So Lindsay's had a bad experience, but we are getting there. And certainly from the indications that we have, I was at the call centres in Eskom over the weekend. The indications are that we're getting it right. That the calls are coming in, we're answering them properly, we're getting the information. And judging by the calls and listening on some of them, and I'm sorry, Lindsay, about your experience, but we definitely seem to be improving. Not that we ever want to be in a situation of load shedding excellence. I think we'd rather get out of it and focus there. But if we have to load shed, it has to be done properly. So, Lindsay, I apologise.
Andrew, when do we get out of this? I mean, we're all planners. We invest in this country. We all live here.
Yes.
There's nothing we can do about that. We can't just suddenly transport ourselves out of it. And we have to adapt to it. But when can we actually look forward to normalizing power in this country? What's the dates?
The critical dates are the dates on which the new power stations come online. That's going to be the breath of fresh air which comes into the grid. The grid at the moment very full of very tired, hard-working power stations being run into the ground. We can't expect miracles here. It's not as though they'll suddenly perform brilliantly. So we're looking at Medupi, the new power station we're building now, and the Kusile power station. We need 3 units online before we see the situation ease. In 18 months, we'll be at a situation of 3 units on the grid, and that will certainly give us the breathing space, not only to accommodate some economic growth and to keep the lights on, but very importantly, to actually take out of service our older power stations, refurbish them, maintain them, and then, of course, put them back in a far better condition than they are at the moment, because that is where we are. So certainly for the next 18 months, there are going to be times when we are as constrained as we are now. Basically, low reserve margins mean that when we have a silo collapse, there's no other power station to go to. They're all already running at maximum output, and those types of disruptions really put us over the edge. So we're still in control of the situation. I know it may not feel like that, especially Lindsay can testify to that, but overall, system operator, still very good, still running the place, and we'll see ourselves come out of this. A couple of weeks until we've synchronized the first unit at Medupi, and I think that will lift the nation. I think when we really realize that this is really going to happen. So a couple of weeks, into the festive season. That will also give us a break, lower electricity demand. I think we'll see load shedding dissipate. After that, the Medupi. So I think there are a couple of milestones to look forward to lift us out of this. But certainly at the moment, whether you call it a big crisis or a small crisis, yes, I think we all know where we are.
Well, Eskom is still in control of the situation. This is what we're hearing from Eskom spokesperson Andrew Etzinger.